The unsolved mystery of Flight MH370. On March 8, 2014, a Boeing 777 carrying 239 people simply vanished from the sky. No distress calls, no radar trace, just gone. In the decades since, investigators, experts, and conspiracy theorists have all tried to explain what happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370. Was it a catastrophic failure, a hijacking, or something far stranger? Today, we're diving into one of the most baffling aviation mysteries in history. But before we do, if you love dark, mysterious stories told in a way that makes you question everything, you're in the right place. This is Tangled Logic, and your support helps keep these stories alive. Please take a second to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next mystery. Now, let's unravel the haunting story of Flight MH370. It was just after midnight on March 8, 2014. When Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 prepared for takeoff at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. The plane, a Boeing 777-200ER, was scheduled to fly overnight to Beijing, China. On board were 227 passengers and 12 crew members representing 14 different nationalities. For most, it was supposed to be a routine 6-hour flight. Families traveling together, business travelers heading home. A few children asleep in their seats. No one could have imagined that this flight would become one of the most famous disappearances in aviation history. The passengers included a group of Chinese calligraphy artists returning from an exhibition, an Australian couple celebrating a retirement trip, and even a young man relocating for a new job. Crew members like lead stewardess Mei Li were known for their professionalism. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, 53, was a respected veteran with more than 18,000 flight hours. His first officer, 27-year-old Fariq Abdul Hamid, was on one of his very first flights in the 777. It was a mix of everyday travelers and seasoned professionals. In short, nothing unusual. The flight departed at 12:41 a.m. local time. The weather was calm. Takeoff was smooth. The plane climbed to 35,000 feet, cruising toward Vietnam. About 38 minutes into the journey, as the plane crossed into Vietnamese airspace, the last known words from the cockpit were transmitted. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Calm, routine, professional." Those 6 words would later take on a haunting weight, because they were the final communication anyone ever heard from MH370. Just minutes later, the aircraft's transponder, the device that transmits the plane's identity and locations, suddenly went silent. Civilian radar lost the flight. Controllers in Malaysia assumed it was a technical glitch. Maybe the system had been switched off accidentally. Maybe the pilots were adjusting frequencies. But soon, Vietnamese controllers noticed something alarming. The plane never checked in as scheduled. They tried radio calls. Nothing. Malaysia tried too. Silence. MH370 had slipped off the grid. Here's where things become strange. Commercial aircraft don't just vanish. Even if the transponder is turned off, primary radar should still pick them up. But on civilian systems, MH370 was gone. Behind the scenes, confusion spread. Was this an accident? Had the plane broken apart mid-air? Nobody knew. Meanwhile, families in Beijing gathered at the arrivals terminal, holding signs, balloons, flowers, waiting for their loved ones to step through the gate. The scheduled arrival time came and went. Instead of happy reunions, there were announcements of delays. Officials stalled. Panic set in. By morning, Malaysian authorities made the unthinkable announcement. Flight MH370 was missing. Dozens of ships, helicopters, and aircraft scrambled to the South China Sea, the last known location of the plane. Experts expected to see floating wreckage, oil slicks, maybe even survivors clinging to debris. But hours turned into days, days into weeks. Nothing. Not a seat cushion, not a suitcase, not a scrap of fuselage. It was as if a Boeing 777, one of the safest and most trackable planes in the world, had been erased. Then came a bombshell. Military radar, analyzed later, revealed that after disappearing from civilian radar, MH370 had made a sharp left turn. The aircraft flew back over Malaysia, even passing near Penang Captain Zahari's hometown. It then headed out toward the Andaman Sea, hugging waypoints that suggested someone was deliberately flying it. This wasn't a chaotic freefall. This was controlled. Someone in that cockpit knew exactly what they were doing. Even more chilling, satellite data showed MH370 continued flying for almost 7 hours after its last radio call. It pinged an Inmarsat satellite every hour, sending what's called a handshake. Using this data, investigators plotted 2 possible paths, one stretching north toward Central Asia, the other plunging south into the Indian Ocean. With no radar past that point, they could only guess. Based on fuel range, the southern path seemed most likely, which meant the plane ended its journey in one of the most remote, hostile stretches of ocean on Earth. But if it really crashed there, why wasn't anything found? Aviation accidents always leave something behind. The ocean is brutal, yes, but debris floats. Families clung to hope. Some believed the plane landed somewhere secretly. Others thought hijackers had taken hostages. In Beijing, relatives camped outside the airline's offices for months, demanding answers. Anger grew. Rumors spread. Every few weeks, someone claimed they saw a low-flying jet in the Maldives, or strange signals picked up on shortwave radio. Each lead was investigated. Each one collapsed. Over a year later, in July 2015, the first physical evidence finally appeared. On island, thousands of miles west of the search zone, a beachcomber found a barnacle-covered airplane flaperon. Investigators confirmed it belonged to MH370. Later, more debris washed up in Madagascar, Mozambique, and Tanzania. Pieces of wing cabin panels and interior fittings. Each fragment confirmed the plane had gone down in the southern Indian Ocean, but the wreckage was scattered, carried by currents across vast distances. The main fuselage, the black boxes, the truth, still missing. Investigators then turned to the question, why? One theory looms large: pilot suicide. Some argue Captain Zahari intentionally took the plane off course, perhaps as a final statement. He had political frustrations, personal troubles, and on his home flight simulator, he had once plotted a course eerily similar to MH370's final path. Was this coincidence or chilling preparation? Others reject this theory, noting he was described as stable and caring. Suicide murder of 238 others. Too horrific, they say. Another theory: mechanical failure. Could a fire or depressurization have silently incapacitated everyone on board? The plane might have flown on autopilot until fuel ran out. This ghost flight scenario explains the long path, but not the manual disabling of communications nor the sharp turns. Why cut the transponder if you're fighting an emergency? It doesn't add up. Hijacking was also considered. At first, suspicion fell on 2 Iranian passengers traveling with stolen passports. But Interpol later confirmed they were asylum seekers, not terrorists. No group ever claimed responsibility. And why fly for hours into empty ocean? That's no mission, just suicide with extra steps. Conspiracy theories flourished. Some claim MH370 was carrying sensitive cargo, possibly military electronics bound for China. Others believe it was accidentally shot down by a nearby country and the truth buried. A few even point to Diego Garcia, a secretive U.S. base in the Indian Ocean, suggesting the plane was intercepted. Nothing has been proven, but in the absence of evidence, people will fill the void with imagination. The official search was massive, the most expensive in aviation history. Australian-led teams used sonar, underwater drones, and ships to scan 120,000 square kilometers of seabed. They found shipwrecks, but no plane. Later, a private company, Ocean Infinity searched another 25,000 square kilometers. Still nothing. Imagine that hundreds of millions of dollars cutting-edge tech, years of effort, and a Boeing 777 is still hiding. For families, the uncertainty is torture. Some accepted loss, others refuse. Lawsuits dragged on. Support groups fractured. Some cling to conspiracies, UFO abductions, government secrets, shadowy plots. Others just want remains, closure, something tangible. To this day, memorials stand in Kuala Lumpur and Beijing. Every year, loved ones gather, candles lit, photos held, waiting for answers that never come. And that's the darkest truth of MH370. Even in a world where satellites map our every move, where planes are tracked across oceans, 239 people can still vanish. Their voices gone, their fates unknown. A reminder that mysteries still exist, and sometimes they remain unsolved. So what happened to flight MH370? Was it a deliberate act by the pilot, a catastrophic failure, or something stranger? The truth may still be out there, hidden on the ocean floor, waiting to be discovered. Until then, MH370 remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of our time. If you found this story as unsettling as I did, please support the channel by liking this video, subscribing to Tangled Logic, and hitting the bell so you don't miss future mysteries. And remember, the world is full of strange stories. Sometimes the scariest ones are the real ones.